The following podcast includes profanity, sexual references, crude innuendos, possible nudity, and much more, and may be considered offensive to those with small children, chihuahuas, an alleged photograph of Bigfoot, issues with the excessive use of the word fuck, and anyone who does not like New York City. Consider yourself informed that the duration of this podcast may cause you to experience an overwhelming sensation of butthurt.
One, two, three into the four. Snoop Doggy Dogg and Dr. Dre is.
And this is Not Another Atheist Podcast, the show where everything's made up and the points to. Oh shit! I'm reading the wrong cue cards. This is the sort of variety time with your hosts. I'm Keith.
I'm Jen.
And we are really on the
Hi.
ball tonight. Jen, why don't you tell everybody how you're doing?
Okay, so I just had to call cops, which we all know my views on cops. If I have to call them, it's something serious. Creepy ass dude shows up in a tow truck, right? Tow truck's moving mad slow down the block and shit. He backs up. He parks on the street in front of my house. He gets out of his truck. I'm sitting outside smoking a cigarette. He gets out of the truck, starts walking towards me. And when I said, "Can I help you with something?" he didn't say shit to me. He didn't pick up his head, nothing. All I know is this dude was fucking huge, right? So I said, fuck this shit. Got in the house, called cops. The fuck is this?
Well, that's just a fact.
Mind you, it was like 12:30 in the morning here too, and it's dark as fuck outside. My neighborhood looks like this is where serial killers come to hunt their victims.
I love horror movies.
Shut up! Now I'm gonna be all paranoid tonight. I'm not gonna sleep, you asshole.
Oh, you'll be fine.
And that's how this dude was coming at me too. Like I know what you did last summer and some kind of shit. His head was down and he was like, his arms were at his side and he was moving all fucking slow and shit. It's like, the fuck? Crazy.
Well, I'm doing just dandy. I'm glad you asked.
How are you, Keith? How was Mexico?
Oh, Mexico was fantastic. I took a week off. I went to Mexico. I spent 7 days sitting on a beach. I did nothing but read and swim in the ocean and
No one
eat at
cares.
the buffet. See, I care, and really, that's all that matters to me. However, as penance for my week away, last episode I did a little thing on the trailer for the movie Audacity, which came out a few days after that, and don't ask me why. I was masochistic enough, I felt a desire to watch it, so I took a couple of notes while watching it because, oh my god, this movie was, to put it bluntly, fucking awful.
Why did you put yourself through that? Why? I don't understand why. You know what? I don't know.
In all honesty, I don't know. It was bad, and to sum it up, basically, if you want to watch a movie about
It's
people
just like
watching,
a giant Ray Comfort video.
it's a Ray Comfort circle jerk. Like there's Ray Comfort jacking off Ray Comfort. It's jacking off Ray Comfort, yeah.
Oh my god!
Like,
why?
honestly, his head
How would
is
anybody watch?
his head is so far up his own ass. Like it's honestly back towards his shoulders.
You know who he reminds me of? Like if we ever saw Fred Durst in the media again and see how he was washed up, he would look like Ray Comfort. Oh no, wait! I'm thinking of the Josh guy. I'm sorry.
Feuerstein?
Wrong person.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking of.
But
That man haunts my dream.
I did look up a couple of reviews after just to kind of see what everybody else was saying because I watched this and
Why?
I had to pause it every few minutes to send a friend of mine messages going, oh my god, why am I doing this? This is horrible. Anyways, so in this
I
review...
believe I was the friend that was sending that you were sending.
No, actually, it was our first writer, Jim.
Oh, hi Jim.
Anyway, so I went through and I found a couple of reviews, and I found one on Charisma News, and there are a couple of points on it that I wanted to talk about before I just kind of gave my brief review / opinion. So according to Comfort, a non-Christian recently questioned how any Christian could possibly stay true to the Bible and not be homophobic. And after working on this atrocious abortion of a movie for more than a year, he thinks that they've done that. And no, because this movie is the epitome of homophobia. Holy shit. All they need to do is walk around, say, burn the fag, and kill a gay person or two. Sorry, actually kill a gay person or two. And boom, you have like Homophobe of the Year award. He also says
They didn't kill a homosexual or two? I'm shocked. We're slacking.
they did in a dream sequence. They
What?
Yeah, it's kind of like what stages for the main character, what's his name? Peter? I think his name is. We'll call him Peter from here on out. It sets the stage for why he goes on this journey trying to figure out how to, tell homosexuals that they're going to hell, and why he still loves them anyway, because that's Christian love. But basically, there's this skeevy dude who, and spoiler alert, by the way, there's a skeevy dude in this dream sequence who, after Peter asks him to stand by an elevator to make sure people won't go onto it because it was broken, skeevy dude removes the broken sign when he hears the lesbian couple coming and lets them go in the elevator, and then they fall to their death, and Peter wakes up. Oh my god, it was fucking horrible. And the acting, oh god, the acting. But Ray Comfort, I guess, continued. Apparently he had invited an outspoken atheist to the pre-screening
everybody, it was not me. It was not
without
me.
any provocation. And according to Comfort, this outspoken atheist friend, I don't believe he actually has one, I'm just going to put that out there, said, and I quote, "Unlike most Christian films, it's far from cheesy, giggle, snort, giggle, and has a great, well-acted script, snort, 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 turning the head to hide the tears. Most of it is not all heavy-handed, showing the Christian position on homosexuality without being intimidating or angry. Well done." Bullshit! That's all I have to say right now.
No fucking atheist in their right mind would have said that shit.
There is no humanist who would watch this and go, "Oh, you know what? That's just great. You go
Throwing
Comfort."
people down a fucking elevator.
Like, oh my god, it was an abomination. So apparently one of the people who enthusiastically commended this film was, and I want you to sit down because this is going to be a huge shocker, was Ken Ham of Answers in Genesis. I dropped the mic. I'm gonna move on from the review, and I'm gonna go to my own. In my little takedown of the just my takedown of the trailer, I said that it's getting, they're crying about how hard it is to be a bigot and how nobody understands how hard it is to be a poor persecuted Christian, and I'm not wrong.
Poor persecuted white man Christian.
Yeah, it basically what they're saying in this movie, the take-home message is that it's harder to be a bigoted homophobe than it is to be gay, which we all know that is a fucking load of shit. And now, when
Okay.
allow me to clarify.
Just like I'm sure it was harder being a segregationist than black in 1950s America.
Yeah. So.
Oh my god.
Yeah, and but basically the reason why they justify it and say oh it's so hard is because they just want to save everyone from themselves. Fuck you, assholes! How dare you tell me that I am denigrated as less than human because you have some fictitious bullshit book that can't get its own shit straight that says that I am created sick and commanded to be sound. Like, fuck you, Jack. Fuck you.
I thought judging like that was being sick.
Oh, it
Because
is.
you're not
but
supposed to. You're not supposed to cast judgment on others. Only your God, their God, is supposed to.
not supposed to, but evidently.
Right.
So,
Just like they're not supposed to eat bacon and shrimp and wear mixed fabrics.
well, yeah, but let's not get too crazy. They might actually have to abide by a couple of the rules they're enforcing. I did want to kind of discuss the worst metaphor I found throughout the entire movie, and I'm just going to have to kind of explain a couple of bits. So again, spoilers. Fast forward a couple of minutes if you don't want to hear any spoilers. So the climax.
I really don't think anybody cares.
Yeah, I know. I'm just being nice. So the climax of the movie comes in the last 5 minutes of the entire 45-minute runtime. That's right. This movie is only 45 minutes.
It's only 45 minutes long.
The
Jesus.
runtime said 55 minutes, but the last 10 minutes of this movie were just them talking about their Living Waters
I
publications.
think dicks are delicious organization.
Well, I think you can probably make a palindrome out of Living Waters publications. I secretly love dicks or something like that. But anyways, so Diana, who is the evil person I mentioned, going.
No, she's the evil lesbian. I love gay people person.
Oh, this movie is all kinds of fucked up. Like it sets itself up all weird, and the trailer makes it even weirder. But basically, she was the one who goes, well, my sister's gay. Anyways, so she's the blonde I mentioned as the evil person attacking Christianity, and she's on the way to help her sick brother when her vehicle runs out of gas. Who the fuck runs out of gas in a town? How can you justify running out of fucking gas? Like, how stupid?
I mean, in this day and age where it says where it tells you on your gauge in this day and age that you have this many miles to complete zero empty. Who runs out of gas anymore?
Well, there's that
Just
too.
saying.
So she passed a hitchhiker along the way, and he's kind of made to look all intimidating and scary, indicating that you should look out for him. He's probably a criminal. So the hitchhiker she passed, he's now caught up, and he's banging on her window, and they've distorted the sound and made it sound like all she's doing is screaming, and you can't even hear a muffle of the guy shouting at her. So he's banging on her window, and then, yeah, for some weird reason, we can't hear what he's saying. So he disappears, and she starts to calm down, and then he comes back, and he's screaming again, all menacing-like. And he's got a rock in his hand, and he breaks in the window so he can unlock her door and pull her out of the vehicle. Now both of them are screaming, "Oh my god, oh my god, oh!" And then all of a sudden you hear a train blast its horn, and we find out that she had parked on train tracks.
Oh
Yeah.
my god.
So not only did she run out of
train
gas,
tracks?
but she ran out of gas perfectly on the middle of train tracks. And here's where we
On
get
the middle of train tracks, and
Yeah.
there just happens to be this criminal transient there.
Well, he's the hero, and I'll get to that. So here now we're going to fast forward to the I quoted news coverage because not even Mexican news stations are this badly done. And they commented on how she was resisting the man who was trying to save her, and how we can all learn a lesson that just because somebody scares us doesn't mean that they're not trying to save us. Like, fuck you, Ray Comfort.
Oh, because I'm sure the big giant man walking towards me tonight in darkness, who wouldn't speak to me and wouldn't raise his head, had my absolute best interest at heart.
Yeah, like this is just the tongue-in-cheek bigotry bullshit that we've come to expect from like Comfort and shit. And so basically, my summary was, oh wow, Christians are just trying to save us from the train wreck of hell, and only look like the creepy rapist that 50 years after his actions gets a horror movies, right? So TLDR, this movie is a manifestation of the mentality: love the sinner, hate the sin. Give me a fucking break.
Get bent, bitch.
Like, honestly, Ray Comfort, fuck you, you bigoted prick. And all throughout his videos, he's using this really stupid-ass circular logic, like... And he has this need where after every time he asks a question, he follows it up with, alright, yeah? So you hear this, yeah? Alright, yeah? And yeah? And I'm sitting there going, my god, these poor people, they've been barraged by stupidity. They don't know how to answer these questions. Because the whole crux of this movie rests on the fact that Ray Comfort videos are being showed to Diana, who is actually revealed to be a lesbian. It's not her sister that's a lesbian. It's her who's
I'm
actually...
telling you, he looks like he's seen one up close. He looks like he's seen one up close.
Oh, I totally agree. And
At the least.
He asks them to read a couple of Bible verses, and you can tell that his interviews have been cut and pasted, which is no surprise because these people love to do shit like that. And a lot of the people he interviews are apparently gay. I doubt it. I'm pretty sure they're just actors saying they're gay for, $5-10 because they want to eat that night. And it's just absolute fucking stupidity. Anyways, now that we've ranted and raved about that, let's move on to the news. An Iowa minister received a shock in the wake of his wife's death. An outpouring of hatred from one area resident who claimed to represent the community he serves. So this is an LGBT-friendly minister who performed marriages not just for, straight people, but the homosexual members of his church.
Mm-hmm.
To which I say, that's progress of a good kind. And
if that's what he wants to do, then that's his discretion.
Well, there's that too. But what's horrifying about this story is how this minister, Gilbert McBride, he performs wedding ceremonies for LGBT couples and promises to make the occasion everything that you've wanted, hoped for, and desired. But for over the last few years, he hasn't been performing very many wedding ceremonies. His wife was deathly ill, so he's dedicated most of his time to taking care of her, as is his want.
Caring for her, right?
Exactly. Your loved one, the person you've dedicated your entire life to.
This guy seems like really fucking cool, actually. Like, this guy seems fucking
awesome. So he received a note shortly after his wife died, and this is the most awful fucking thing.
Don't even fucking tell me somebody fucking came at him right after his wife died. Like, seriously?
Yeah, he did. Shortly after, he found a note on his car, and the note read, "We recently discovered that you perform same-sex weddings. That disturbs many of us in the community. Normally, when someone in town dies, the community comes together to do what we can for that person's family. As you may or may not have noticed, is when your wife died. Yeah, grammar, awesome. No one came and brought meals or even so much as condolences. That's because, as a minister that performs gay weddings, you deserve all the bad that you brought upon yourself. Your wife died because God hates you for the abomination you have become by preaching His word while also catering to queers. We in this community hope you suffer as much as possible and realize that unless you change your faggot-friendly ways, your suffering will only get worse. Do this town and your family a favor and get a rope and hang yourself. People like you disgust us. We don't want your or need your kind around us making the town look worse. I personally hope you die a slow and ugly death. Maybe you can catch AIDS from your friends. Just die. What kind of ragingly arrogant asshole thinks that a note like that is okay? I mean, this is that Christian love that Comfort's talking about. Oh, guys, yeah, they're going to hell, yeah. We just want to save them, yeah.
Love the sinner, love the sinner, not the sin.
Who the fuck do you have to think you are in order to leave a note like
This
that?
man's wife just died. Now, they're pretty much saying that she died because he performs homosexual marriages and that he should be next on the list too. And,
That's
fuck
exactly
being a
what he said.
community.
But no, fuck the community. It's not about being a community. It's about
Fuck
living.
being a community.
It's about
Fuck being. No, it's fuck being a community. It's you deserve to die because you performed homosexual marriages, and your wife deserves to die, and we're not going to be there for you, and fuck your time of need. And this is what gets me with Christians is like they're supposed to be all loving and oh my God, and your time of need and let's save you. But when this man's time of need came, where the fuck was they?
as a minister who performs gay marriage, you deserve all the bad upon yourself. Like, what the fuck? That's a reason to not give a damn about another human being? That's not fucking love. That's judgment. If you're supposed to be...
No, it's not. But isn't that, haven't we all agreed that this is the basis for Christianity? Come on, the basis for Christianity.
Yes.
This poor man's wife just died after this long, intense battle with whatever she had.
I don't think it's...
And then it's like, oh, well, fuck you, she deserved it because you perform same-sex marriages. And it's like, we're not going to help you. That is disgusting. And it's, what cracks me up? Let's just say that let's shits and giggles, there's a heaven. Shits and motherfucking giggles. We die and some shit happens and we're up at a fucking pearly gate, right?
Yeah.
Who do you think's gonna get into heaven first? This dude or these people that decided we're not going to help you because we disagreed with you?
Yeah, we're not going to sit there and say we might disagree with you, but we're going to support you as a human being and an active member of our community. Like, that's such a part of this us and them mentality. And I feel so bad for this guy. I mean, in all honesty, nobody, believer or non-believer, deserves this kind of treatment. So later on, they're kind of interviewing him. And what he says is that if a gay couple comes...
Okay, you're a little clearer now. Okay.
So reading what he had to say, he goes, if a gay couple comes to me, I will marry them in a heartbeat. If a person of different skin color or faith or just anyone hurting, he explains, I will sit and pray and talk and feed and whatever else I can do for that person. I mean, strike out the pray, and this is pretty well like the ultimate in extension of humanity. I mean, here we have somebody who sits there and says, people are people, we should take them as they are. And
isn't this like the ultimate teaching of Christ?
I think so. I mean, I'm sure there are others who will tell us differently.
Isn't that the gist of the ultimate teaching of Christianity? This guy's like the living embodiment of it.
Yeah, pretty much. And he's just... I feel so bad. I'd love to give this guy a hug and say, you know what? You don't deserve that. Nobody had the right to talk to you like that.
I want to, nobody wants to cook for him and shit. I want to, bring him here and, cook for him and, just give him some time off from everything he's having to go through the last couple of years.
To suffer for just wanting to let people love each other in a open and honest and consensual...
But it's so much better to hate. I don't understand that.
Well, hate brings people together more than love does.
I don't understand how it... Yeah, absolutely. And the number one cause of hate is love.
Yeah. So that's depressing.
Let's look at that. We gotta examine that one. Oh my god.
That's depressing as fuck.
I don't even have words for these fucking people. other than go fuck a cactus.
Please rectally insert a cactus. Agreed.
Like,
I'm just trying to find out where he lives. Oh, Iowa. So there's that. It's it is sad, and I do hope that this guy gets some like attention for this, because in all honesty, I think he's more of a humanist than he is a Christian. He puts his humanity before he does his faith, and you know what? I say big ups to that. If more people who had a solid religious conviction put humanity before faith.
But you could also argue the fact that the basic teachings of Christianity is based on humanism. And I'm not talking about Catholicism and the Old Testament, all that other shit. I'm talking about the New Testament with Christ and Jesus and all that fuck.
To an extent.
You can argue the basis to the absolute core of that is a humanist position.
Yeah. I mean, once you get past the, you must believe in me or you must use your free will to believe in me or suffer.
No, I'm talking about the New Testament, where Christians say that that's what they're supposed to follow is the New Testament.
That is in the New Testament.
Is it?
John 3:16, for God so loved the world that he sent his only begotten Son, and whosoever believeth in him shall not perish but have eternal life. So basically, not believing in God means that you suffer.
Okay. But still, the basis of this whole love everybody, don't judge thing is basically a humanist core. It's basically a humanist teaching.
Yeah, more or less. I mean, I'm sure that there will be people who will flat out disagree, and I invite them to kind of nudge us down. But if the basic tenet of Christ
There's no nudge me down. You need to beat my ass off that fucking pedestal with a bat. We all know it.
I invite anybody with a Louisville Slugger's worth of information on this topic to come and knock Jen off this pedestal, because I'm a sick fuck.
That's how he shows his love, people. We're true heathens.
Yeah, more or less. No, it's if the main tenets of Christianity is ultimately love thy neighbor as thyself, treat your fellow man the way you'd want to be treated, that golden rule, then holy fuck, yes, we have the perfect setup for humanism. But cut out the spiritual bullshit. Cut out this notion that you have to be a certain way, or else you're eternally damned.
If you don't fit this perfect mold, you're not. Yeah, you don't fit in. You can't sit with us.
Yeah, that's it exactly. Actually, it's a perfect way of explaining.
If you're not perfect and plastic and don't, and wear pink on Wednesdays, then you can't sit with us.
Yeah, Mean Girls, I think.
Yes, it is, and I commend you for knowing that.
Yeah, I think my penis just got a little shorter on that, but all right. Yeah, and one last thing.
About 3 inches.
Oh, now I have the sad. One last thing that I kind of want to touch on is the fact that they use the faggot word. Like, really? Have we really stooped so low? That really just exposes
Are we really still using that word?
This really exposes the infantile and childish mindset. They try to go, well, you cater to queers. Trying to sound like less than pure redneck swamp scum. And then they drop faggot, and then they pretty well expose themselves.
Faggot cracks me up, man. I'm just like, wow, we are still using that, huh?
Using that word in this context exposes you more than a Catholic priest exposes himself to a
using that
altar
word,
boy.
And it's, okay, this is something that I've always been curious about. They sit there with this, gays are bad and faggot thing and blah 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 blah. Then what would you call a priest that molests a little boy?
Father.
Ooh, ouch. I like that. I like that one.
Well, it's, that's what they call priest, and we all know how eager they are to forgive priests.
I'm just like, but they're not only molesting little children, but it's little children of the same sex.
Yeah, that always confused me is, homosexuality is bad, but I'm going to molest little boys. Really? What the fuck is wrong with you? I mean, other than the fact that you like to touch little boys, what the fuck else is wrong with you? So I think we've beat that little thinger to death.
Yeah, that's just something I'd always been curious about.
Yeah, you and me both. Okay, so let's move on to something else that's very creepy. Mom removes teenager from school after a claim is made by a member of the staff that says the teenager's clothes reminded him of bondage. First off, ew. If you're a grown man and you look at a 15-year-old the way she's dressed and all you can think is sexy thoughts, the problem is not her.
It's 50 Shades, right?
You. 50 Shades of Rape?
Yeah, if you're sexualizing a young, yeah, right. If you're sexualizing a young child like this,
And you're trying to make it her problem because you feel
she's not
ashamed
the
of it?
one with the problem.
Like, as a guy, I can honestly say, like, if I find out that a girl I find find attractive is definitely underage like that, I feel a bit of shame. But here's the thing. I'm grown up enough to say, oh,
And you're
I
no
shouldn't be
longer
attracted to her. That's my problem. I'm just gonna, grow up and move on with my life. I'm not gonna sit here and go, that's your fault. You need to change. You're seducing me. Like, that's more of this victim blaming bullshit that we've harped on in the past.
That screams rapey to me.
It does. I would recommend checking this
That's like
member of staff.
rapey.
Yeah, exactly. And I did watch the video, and I've seen pictures of what the girl was wearing, and in all honesty, it's really not that bad. Let's see if I can describe it. Yes, she's wearing a leather jacket, a t-shirt that's covering her, shorts that come just past halfway down her thigh, what looks like garters coming down a little further to hold up her knee-high stockings. She is showing very little clothing for inducing sexy thoughts.
She sounds pretty fucking covered to me.
She is, and I'm posting the link, and I invite people to take a quick peek at this. But this is absolutely fucking like, to look at that and stop and think, oh wow, she makes me think of bondage. Dude, you need help.
Yeah, and the fact that you know she's 16 and this is where your mind is going.
Yeah.
She's
15,
not the one with the fucking problem.
Yeah, so this was...
Excuse me, everybody. It's been a very long week for me.
So her school has this charity non-uniform day, and this is what she chose to wear, which, that's her right. So anyways, her mom gets a phone call at some point through the day, claiming to be a member of staff, and told her over the phone that the 15-year-old girl needs to... that the mom needs to bring the 15-year-old girl a pair of pants to cover
the
up
daughter
because her daughter was showing too much flesh. So the mother was kind of confused, and she basically questioned the guy to really the point where he had no choice but to expose his real problem. And kudos to the mom on behaving like that.
Being a pedophile, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So she questioned him why he didn't like what she was wearing, so she knows what to tell her daughter when she picks up her daughter, and why her daughter asks her, why did I come home from school? And ultimately his reply was, she looks like she does bondage. Who gives a fuck what somebody does sexually? If they're of consenting age, even if they're not of if they're 15 and really shouldn't be sleeping with anybody over, what is it, the age of 16 or 18 or something like that? I'm not entirely sure the logistics of that whole legal thing.
It depends on the state and shit like that, but it's usually 16.
Well, I know in Canada, if you're over 18 and you have sex with somebody who's under the age of 18 but over the age of 14, it can be considered consensual rape. I think that's what it is.
Yeah, we have muddled. There's variants.
But the ultimately the age of consent in Canada is 14.
Wow.
Please send us emails and correct us if you have the ability to. And yeah, so after this incident, I guess the mother has removed her daughter from the school. And I say good, because you don't want to leave, girls of that age around a guy like this who can sit there and say, I'm attracted to them, and that's not my problem.
I'm attracted to them, and it's making me want to go buy riding props. Unfucking-believable.
Yeah, exactly. So this is just absolute garbage.
I'm attracted to them. They make me want to buy bondage equipment and riding props.
And, if that's your kink, go online, go to FetLife or whatever they have in
that's my kink. But I'm not looking at 15-year-olds to satisfy the kink. What's the, get into the line of thinking for it.
Here's the thing. If you are that attracted to girls under the age of 18, there is a myriad of prostitutes who are between the ages of 18 and 21 who will willingly dress up like they are of this age for you. Yes, it's for a fee. But in the long run, it's probably a lot cheaper to just pay a hooker once a week than it is to, get married to somebody.
And a lawyer.
Have to deal with a lawyer. So if you are that attracted to 15, 16-year-old girls...
Expensive.
Yeah. If you're that attracted to 15, 16-year-old girls, you know what? It's a sexual attraction. Everybody has their attractions. We don't demonize attractions. What we do is demonize how people approach those attractions. And a 15-year-old cannot consent to a 30-year-old.
I'm going to demonize... No. I'm going to demonize pedophiles. Because it's not a sexual attraction. It's fucking predatory.
Um,
I'm gonna demonize fucking pedophiles.
it
I'll
is
put in the
it is a
fucking
predatory
record.
attraction. I did a debate in one of my classes regarding pedophilia, and it is considered I believe it's a paraphilia. It is almost like a sexual disorder. However, they are just people who are naturally attracted to young children, young girls, young boys.
And I'm gonna demonize that.
But I don't think you should demonize that so much as you need to focus on how does a person approach this. I mean, obviously somebody who does this is going to hate themselves unless there's somebody who takes pride and is on, that shadow web, I think it's called, or the dark net. And because I guess there's this entire community. I was reading the, brilliant journalism on Cracked, and somebody had actually gone on and had interviewed people in this or in the pedophile community on using a TOR browser.
Really?
And
I gotta read that.
it is horrifying, some of the things that they said. Like, to be in part of that community, you basically have to supply as much as you're taking. And one of the things that she was talking about was how she came across this one account, or this one user, who maintained anonymity for and the sake of making sure that she couldn't be caught by the cops. And she was talking about her and her husband were sexually active with their 5-year-old.
Okay, I can't deal with this conversation anymore.
Something like that. That's fucking disgusting. Like, that shit needs to be buckled down. But there are treatment options available.
I have a 3-year-old son, and you know what? I'm not even gonna comment on that because it physically makes me sick to my stomach. I can't. I can't.
It's a very tough subject. All right. Well, I think we can move on from that.
And now for something completely different.
Move on from that onto an article that references one of Jen's favorite sites, only because of what I did to her a couple episodes ago.
It was like last episode, dude.
We concluded it last episode. Deal with it.
Yeah, all right. It covered the list.
So this is another article from Addicting Info, which is fantastic, apparently, because it's the knowledge you crave. But this article deals with this article we're going to talk about. This is going to kind of be our topic discussion. It comes to us from the beloved Gender Rules website. The headline of this article reads, Christian marriage expert to a rape victim who wrote him. You sinned, not your husband. Marital rape doesn't exist. So I'm just going to briefly read over what the article says she wrote in. So her explanation is this. My husband and I have been married for 9 years. My husband has sex with me whether I want it or not. That's rape, by the way. All of the time. It has tainted our marriage and our sex life to the point of disgust. Even when I would cry, he would still have sex with me. I can read a book, and he will still have sex with me. I have tried to tell him how this makes me feel. I begged and pleaded with him not to do this to our marriage, that I feel like his whore or his piece of trash. He just does not care. I hate when he touches me. It literally makes me sick to my stomach. So please, tell me how this is not sin. How this is not rape or abuse of some sort, because in my mind, I feel like I am living with my molester every day. Every part of that is rape. Like, plain and simple. Rape is rape.
Rape.
There is no
Every
differentiation of marital rape. The only reason there is because there is a legal connotation to it. And as far as I know, up until 1991, marital rape wasn't even considered rape. 1991.
It was before that.
In Canada.
No, it had it.
In Canada.
In Canada. I know in the U.S. I'm fairly certain in the U.S. it was well before that.
So, let's hear the...
fairly certain it was well before that in the U.S.
Let's hear the... Oh, actually, you know what? Just going to pull up the entire disgusting article. And I'm going to invite anybody to click on the Addicting Info article, read this, and they can click to the original article.
And be completely sick to your stomach and want to rip your skin off.
Oh my god, we need a new format for our website because they use the exact same theme as us. Fuck!
That's hilarious.
Okay. So he responds to this wife and other Christian wives who might be in similar situation by asking a couple of questions. So the first question, was the husband wrong for having sex with his wife while she was pregnant and in pain? I'm not sure how
Yes.
this is fucking relevant to the story. But if she was in pain, yes, it's wrong. If she says, sweetie, this hurts, can we stop? For him to continue is fucking wrong. Plain and simple, end of fucking story. No more need for discussion. But no. So this asshole writes...
But wait, there's more.
But wait, the assholery goes deeper. He goes, it depends. Had he just had sex with her in the last few days, then perhaps he should have put her need to not experience more pain and discomfort ahead of his need for sex. Perhaps? Are you fucking with me?
Perhaps.
But if she had been in pain for weeks or a month and he finally came to her and said, babe, I need this, I promise I will make it quick, then she should have put his need for sex above her need to not experience additional discomfort. Get the fuck out of here, you piece of scumbag shit.
And perhaps I should turn my husband on and get a can of hairspray and a lighter and light his dick on fire.
Ow.
Perhaps.
All I can say to that is,
Perhaps.
ow.
Perhaps.
Yeah. Oh, I know.
Perhaps.
Like, fuck you, Dave, right? So question...
Fuck Dave. And Dave's at this bullshit again.
So question number 2.
Fucking Dave learn his fucking lesson.
Was the husband wrong for having sex with his wife even when he knew she did not want to? According to this guy, he says he's never advocated for a Christian husband to force himself upon his wife. But contrary to what feminists and other marital rape accusers say, there is a difference between a husband convincing his wife to let him have sex with her and him physically forcing himself upon her. No.
No, there isn't.
If she doesn't want sex, she doesn't want sex.
No
Again,
is no.
Yeah, exactly.
No is not a negotiation point.
No is not, work the neck, the nipples, try back again in 5 minutes. No. No is no. That's it.
No is fucking no. No is fucking no. No is not a negotiation point.
He goes on and quotes 1 Corinthians 7:4, because apparently the Bible is clear that for the purposes of sex, quote, the wife hath not power of her own body, but the husband, and likewise also the husband hath not power of his own body, but the wife. So they've already contradicted themselves. If the wife says no, but the husband says yes, why is the wife duty bound to fuck her husband when she, doesn't want to? I mean, we already know that in places where people are more likely to justify this, such as the Bible fucking belt, they have a higher they have a higher traffic rate of viewing porn. So obviously, I don't think he should have any problem going to the next room, pulling up some porn, and knocking one off. Plain and simple. I don't give a damn.
No, I mean, what's the fucking point? What's the problem?
And I think that any guy arguing this point should use, or any guy who's does this can justify and say, you know what, I did it because I felt the need for sex, my wife was unable, and it was impacting me, and I hope you forgive me, God. End of fucking story.
No, and men that fucking think like this guy should be castrated. Period.
Well, let's get a little deeper. They should be castrated.
How much
with
more
plastic
deeper do you need to go?
Because I'm sadistic.
Let's castrate them.
Let's
castrate them, and then take a gasoline-filled candle, light it on fire, and shove it in the wound.
Ow. Well, that's not much. That actually is getting better. All right, so let's move on. Question 3. Was her husband treating her like a whore? So he opens this section up by saying by quoting her when she says, he treats me like a whore, he treats me like a prostitute, and he only wants me for sex. So apparently these are 3 common statements that we hear from wives, Christian and otherwise, about their husbands frequently online and elsewhere. What wives who make these statements are actually saying, according to this asshole, what he believes these wives are actually saying when they say these things are that he does not romance me anymore, he does not talk to me enough and spend time with me outside the bedroom enough. No. Apparently these sentences...
No, what she's saying is that he's raping her.
Yeah, exactly.
This isn't about fucking romance, this is about consent.
Exactly. So apparently, according to this asshole, when wives express these sentiments, it comes from a place of them feeling like their husbands have not earned the right to have sex with them. And only when their husband makes them feel the way he once did, then and only then should the women give up the sex without feeling like a whore, prostitute, or just plain used. No, that has nothing to do with this fucking thing. Treating somebody like a whore and like a prostitute and
married. It's the fact that she's married to somebody that sees no problem raping a woman.
Exactly.
This is beyond a romance thing. This is beyond a sensitivity thing. This is a man that feels that he is entitled to a woman's body at any point in time, and he has the absolute right to take it. He is a rapist. And now we've got millions of men preaching this to billions of people.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is a Christian pastor. We have millions of men teaching this to billions of people. So there are a billion more rapists being trained right now as we speak around the world. Think of that.
Mm-hmm. And this is just
There is a
justifying
billion people right now that are being told that their entitlement over a woman's body is more important than her consent. A billion rapists are being taught that it's okay in the name of religion.
Yeah, this whole superiority and entitlement when it comes to sex is just pure garbage.
But
I don't
put it
understand.
into that perspective. And then there's another billion being told that it's okay to be raped. Let's think about that sheer scale.
Oh,
There are people out there training a billion rapists right now.
Yeah, it's pretty nicely. So you want to hear something even better before he moves on to the 2 greatest lies Satan tells women regarding sex and marriage? So he feels that the quote or the statement that a woman feels like her husband's whore falls short is that 2 wrongs never make a right, because her husband is doing the right thing. He's talking to her on a daily basis, and knowing her better is not a prerequisite to sex and marriage. And she seems to have been very grudgingly yielding to her husband, while a Christian husband can accept grudgingly yielded sex, does not make it right on the part of the wife to have such a horrible attitude. Are you fucking kidding me?
So grunting at her and dragging her by her hair back to the cave is just fine.
Well, yeah, because if he drags her by her leg and they go through any dirt, like you might get dirt up in there, and then he's worried it might, rip his penis apart. Which, in all fairness, he deserves.
So okay, if there's nothing wrong with not getting to know your wife is not a prerequisite, is apparently fine to fuck her, then why are one night stands so wrong?
Yeah. Oh man.
Why are one night stands? Isn't this the same fucking theory we're going on here? It's you don't need to know your wife and really talk to her to feel entitled to her body. So why doesn't this hold true with one night stands then too? Because that's essentially what this is. This is nothing but a 20-year one night stand at that point.
Oh my god, this article it gets worse and worse and worse. And I have to read you some of the comment, or at least one of the comments,
The
because
hits keep coming.
oh my god. So apparently, the first lie Satan tells to unmarried women is that don't do anything you don't feel like doing. And the second lie that Satan tells to married women is don't do anything you feel like doing. What? I don't get it.
What?
Yeah.
I don't get it.
I'm trying to
That's
wrap my brain around this, so I'll read it to you and we'll see if it makes sense. If he makes you feel, sorry, this is the first lie to which he tells unmarried women. So single
This is
women.
what he tells unmarried.
Yes. If he makes you feel loved, then by all means give your body to him. Enjoy great sex based on your passion for one another. You don't need to be married. Follow your feelings wherever they lead you. The minute he stops making you feel loved, dump him and move on to another new romance. I don't think Satan says that. This does not make you a whore. Whores have sex with men just to have sex. You are having sex based on your feelings of love, and that is noble and right. But remember my golden rule. Don't do anything you don't feel like doing. Apparently, I'd like to know where Satan says
Satan
this.
sounds like a good time.
Satan's a pretty decent guy. I mean, I think they're putting words in his mouth when they talk.
Yes.
They reference the whole.
I would sleep with Satan. I would sleep with Satan, or at least suck one off. I would sleep with Satan.
I'd let him wine and dine me. I mean, it sounds like he'd be a pretty good time. He seems pretty smart, pretty on the
I don't
ball.
even think he'd need to wine and dine me. I mean, just like come over for Netflix and chill. I mean,
yeah, but I've always wanted to be wined and dined. Like, that just doesn't happen when you're a guy, unless you're dating other guys, and I haven't really met one worth dating.
that's right. You're one of those expensive, I gotta work for you whores. I fucking hate your type.
Well, I've always wanted me a sugar mama or a sugar daddy. Preferably a sugar mama, because there's less chance of them trying to get me to stick my tongue in their bum.
Yeah, but you ever notice like the sugar daddies are all these horrifically ugly old men? Like, why is there no good-looking sugar daddies?
Because no woman would touch them, so they had to put all their energy into making money. And now that they have money, they can afford to buy beautiful women. Or, well, like,
And this is what's so fucked up that hatred. I honestly think that's what stops me sometimes.
all right. So shall we move on to the second lie that Satan tells it to married women?
Why the fuck not? Oh, hold on. Lost the earpiece. Whoopsie.
That's a bad idea.
Okay. What does he tell married women?
He says, remember what I told you when you were single. That applies when you are married too. If he makes you feel loved and is passionate and romantic and you feel like having sex with him, then by all means have sex. But if he does not make you feel loved, or if the passion fades, stop having sex with him and make it clear he has to make you feel loved and romanced like he did when you were first together. Apparently their grammar is really great and they don't do proofreading. If a long time goes by and the feelings of love don't come back...
Like Satan's grammar is horrible.
Yeah, apparently. Dump/divorce him and move on to the next guy. Even if your husband does make you feel loved, you never should have sex with him if you don't feel like it. Never forget my golden rule. Don't do anything you don't feel like doing. Remember you were wondering if you were being a whore by sleeping with men when you were single? Well, you know what a real whore is? It is a wife who has sex with her husband when she does not feel like it, and especially when does not feel loved or romanced. Really? Satan, you sound like a brilliant fucking dude.
I wouldn't call her a whore.
No, I wouldn't either, but I mean, he does raise a valid point. I mean, in all honesty, I would love to sit and have this conversation with Satan, because he sounds like a fucking smart dude. Like, honestly. Yeah.
This is all about bodily autonomy, and I dig that.
So apparently the author didn't actually have a conversation with Satan. He made it based off of his perceptions via all the portrayals of Satan in it.
I was hoping he could give me his number.
I know, being played in almost every TV show and drama. Like, really?
I wish he could have given Satan's number. That would have been great. Damn, I was hoping he really did talk to him and he had an email address or Twitter or something.
Oh, I'm sure he's got a Twitter. God's got a Twitter.
I'm watching God on Twitter. God's not a bad dude either.
Well, I think maybe that's Satan trying to make God look better, because Satan apparently isn't that much of a douche. Because here's why I think God's a douche, because according to this article, has sex with her husband even when she does not feel like it, even when her husband is not doing everything he should, is doing exactly what God wants her to do. So God basically wants women to be rape victims. Fuck you, Jack. Fuck you right in the urethra.
God wants women to be rape victims.
Yeah, by doing this, she's living according to the spirit, not according to the flesh. They did get something wrong.
Women were put on this planet to be raped.
So
that's exactly what it's saying.
Well, no, women weren't just here to be raped. They were also here to be property and servants,
And breeders.
Well, that's part of the rape thing, I think.
Yeah.
So the next little section he has says, was her husband wrong for getting her drunk for sex? Apparently the answer is yes, he was wrong. So you get a bronze star on this. Because the rest of this
why was he wrong? Simply for the alcohol.
No. Well, yeah, because it is never right to encourage drunkenness in someone, as that is sinful. But apparently this wrong does not level the allowing for divorce. So, again,
so he Bill Cosby's her, and she's got to stay with him.
Because it was she needed to exercise restraint and not engage in getting drunk. Like, fuck, what, are you kidding me?
So why doesn't he exercise restraint and not rape his wife?
Because she's not giving herself to him when she should be. It's her fault. Yeah, fuck. Like, oh my god, I don't know how much more of this I could take.
Alright, my brain is shut down at this point.
Okay. Well, one last question before we try wrapping things up here. So this section says, is her husband raping her or abusing her by having sex with her when she's not in the mood? So unless he is physically harming her by forcing himself upon her, no, he is not abusing her from a biblical perspective. There's the fucking problem right there, asshole.
Okay, coming from a woman that was married, yeah, there are some times you're just really not in the mood, but you say yes to kind of shut him up. And I don't consider that rape simply because of the fact that you're consenting to it. And there is a level of consent there. I mean, you're like, okay, let me just get this shit done and over with. You know what I mean? But when she's physically saying, no, I'm in pain, no, and he does it anyway, that's fucking rape.
Yeah.
The consent has to be two-sided.
No, because apparently, biblically, it is impossible for a man to rape his wife. He can abuse her, but he can't rape her.
But talking to a burning bush, totally fucking plausible. Turning human beings into pillars of salt absolutely happens. Absolutely. Raping your wife can't exist.
No, because her body is his, but the paradox is that even though his body is hers, somehow it gets lost in the mix that she can't say no. She's not allowed to say no. Like, what? Are you kidding me?
And does this hold true to men too? Can men not say no?
Yeah. So apparently, it's just him convincing her to yield her body to him. So
Oh my god.
yeah, and apparently it's very possible that even if she yields to him, there's no sin on her part. So if she acts disgusted by him and acts like he has no right to have sex with her, the sin is solely her. It is solely hers.
Solely
So
her.
she's not allowed to use the terms rape and molester in her vocabulary regarding her husband's sexual advances towards her. This is absolute fucking garbage.
This is where the rape culture comes from. It's right here in your Bibles, ladies and gentlemen.
You're not
This is
fucking
where
wrong.
the rape culture originates.
You're really not wrong. It is an absolute tragedy that people still maintain this mentality in the dawn of the 21st century. We know better. Everything that we have tells us, or everything that we're working towards in terms of equality.
Says, hey, this is fucked up.
Exactly. So I'm sitting here and I'm going, this is...
Because we're in the age of instant and cherry picking. We have things like Facebook where we can instantly see how everyone's life is doing and block what we don't want to see. And then we have dating apps like Tinder that you can swipe right or swipe left to who you find appealing. It's in the blink of an eye.
Yeah.
So in order to justify something, let's only pick and choose parts. The Bible is like Tinder for morality.
Yeah. Wow, you pick whichever snippets make most sense to you, apparently.
Exactly. And if you're craving, I don't know, bacon cheeseburger, you swipe left on that Leviticus. But if you want to have sex and your wife tells you no,
you go to the
swipe right on that. You swipe right on Corinthians. The Bible is Tinder for morality at this point. The Bible is the new Tinder for morality. You pick and choose and swipe right and swipe left on things that you feel justify your behavior at this moment. Fuck cherry picking. Tinder is the Bible of morality. I'm sorry. The Bible is the Tinder of morality, I should say.
There we go. That's proper English. Okay, I'm sorry. I know I said that was the last bit, but I have to read this first comment, or at least part of this first comment, because, oh my god, Jen, you can see me right now. I have my hand on my face. I'm face palming. It needs to be said, or this needs to be read. I'm going to read the first paragraph. That's a really sad and painful tale. That poor wife, but that poor husband too, because no matter how much he may appear not to care, it cannot be very enjoyable to have sex with someone's tears and complete lack of enthusiasm. He's settling, but that settling comes with a price too. What? Okay, I'm gonna level. If I can tell my girlfriend's just not in it, I would rather just go beat off. End of story. If I want sex and she doesn't, I can be a big boy and I can either go to the next room and just quickly take care of it.
But is that it still harps on his discomfort, not her horrific.
Exactly.
The horrific act of her being raped. It's the fact that he has to deal with this emotional woman while he's trying to fuck her. This is what they're stressing.
Yeah, they're stressing what she owes him and the damage this might be doing on him. Who gives a fuck what's wrong with what's happening to him? This guy is raping his wife. End of story. Our primary concern is the victim.
And it's about this poor husband because she's crying and he can't get in the mood because he's raping her and she's expressing sadness and trauma.
Yeah,
from rape.
That's bad.
But the poor husband to have to deal with an emotional crying wife while he's raping her.
Oh, I know. It's just
telling you, Bible is Tinder.
Bible is the Tinder morality.
We should hashtag that. We should really hashtag that.
We'll work on it. We'll shorthand it.
Surprise, motherfucker!
Ta-da! So last time I did a little section where I just kind of tacked on some final thoughts, just based kind of on what's going on in the news. And I had kind of recorded this. I was going to put it up as a supplementary episode because we weren't recording 2 weeks ago, and it just never came to fruition. So with Jen's permission, I would kind of like to do my little spiel, the thing that I wrote as kind of like an audio blog type deal, which is really kind of what I'm kind of trying to do with this. In regards to the recent decision by the Supreme Court on marriage equality. So, Jen, with your permission, I would love to hijack the show and just kind of take a couple of minutes and go through the one that I wrote on gay rights, if that's all right.
You got it. Don't be surprised if I throw in some little thoughts at the end, too.
Damn it.
Because I can't keep my fucking mouth shut.
It's true. It's true. I mean, I could be a real ass and just have this record my part of the microphone, but I'll take this as a sign of good faith. All right.
I'll stay quiet, Darren, I promise.
Okay. If you have anything to say afterwards, you can say it. Okay. So
Or forever hold your peace.
I want to start this off by saying I suspect that conversations with my parents are going to provide a strong foundation for a lot of these little audio blog tirades that I'm going to try to be going on more in the future, every other episode or so. So recently, I'm sure everybody's heard about this. It's come out that the Supreme Court voted in favor of marriage equality. On Facebook, there's been a loud echo chamber of support for this, which is fantastic to see that as a society we're really embracing this, because it adopted and then there was the adoption of the pride filter, which is basically just taking your profile picture and kind of overlaying a rainbow on top of it as a way of showing support and solidarity of this decision. This actually happened while I was in Mexico, and so the first time I hopped onto Facebook after I came back, Facebook looked like a bag of Skittles fucking exploded. So at dinner, it's a couple of weeks ago, it was brought up by my folks how ridiculous they felt it was that Facebook had added the rainbow filter because it seemed only to be in favor of gay pride. I'm not going to jump ahead by sounding off on the discussion we had about the gay pride parade. I'll save that to kind of near the end, but I'll kind of tease you by saying that I'm going to do it. So the argument that they put forth was that it seems just so saturated, and I'm not against it, but it's everywhere. I find this to be a really fucking weak argument. I wasted no time in this discussion in trying to point out how it's a major social change with a lot of significance pertaining to human rights. So I told them that it's going to fizzle out as there's going to be other news events that come out, but right now we're standing in a place that we all think is a cause for celebration, and I stand firmly by that. But one thing that's been pointed out to me, and it's really helped me along in my understanding of the importance of gay pride, is this. When I and my girlfriend hold hands or kiss while we're walking in public, nobody bats an eye. And I'll quantify that by saying only a racist would bat an eye because she's Filipino, or a Filipina, and I'm Caucasian. But if two men or two women, regardless of race, if they're two men or two women, do the same thing in public, it's not unheard of or even uncommon for the couple to be subject to any number of taunts and torments. We even still hear the odd act of violence towards gay people in the 21st century. There's a good friend of mine who's not shy about showcasing experiences in this regard. Their Facebook wall documents several highlights of life, a lot of the good, congratulations to my brother, blah, 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 I'm doing this in school, it's great. But there's also a small expose on social bigotry, which I think is very necessary. Women's rights and other social issues are frequently brought out by this person, and rightly so. And if we allow these issues to continue to be ignored, then all we're doing is allowing the problem to continue in a vicious cycle, and it's dehumanizing to those who suffer by the poo-pooing of their genuine misery. So the argument that it's everywhere and it's so in your face and it's so saturated really pisses me off, and I didn't hesitate to tell my parents, well, tough. And allow me to tell you that when I said that to my parents, it was fucking weird. But I did go on, and I reminded them of what I just shared with you. Heterosexual couples just don't get harassed or legislated against. You don't see rallies against male-female couplings, period. Except for my caveat above about the racists. Their knee-jerk response is always, and you'll see this from anybody arguing that they're in favor of, but they think it's too much, their knee-jerk response is, but I don't agree with that. I'm not doing that. And my skin starts to crawl when I hear this, and I had to reel myself in because I knew I was letting myself get a little worked up. So I tried to bottle up the anxiety that I was dealing with and really tried to not get too emotionally invested in this and risk saying something stupid with, my parents. And because I'm known to do that, and I've burned bridges before, and I'm really struggling to work with that. Now, I'm going to clarify. I don't endorse the bigots who consider two men sharing a lifelong devotion and a love that is every bit as valid as the marriage that my parents have shared. And let me say, which my parents might kill me for if they ever find out I've said this, but their marriage has not been perfect. And it has caused the products of this marriage, their children, a fair bit of emotional distress in the meantime. I won't go into details. What's done is done. It's in the past. We've dealt it, and we've been adults and moved on. But what disturbs me is that somehow it's forgotten that not standing up to bullies and oppressors by those who can is a key part of the little guy getting recognized as a human being. And I will freely admit that growing up, I was the little guy. I was bullied. Like so many of the other people, I was. It's just a fact of belonging to a social structure. I may not have had it as rough as these ostracized groups, but I do understand the concept of being subject to some asshole with an oversized and undeserved sense of grandiosity and superiority, think that they're cock of the walk and somehow I'm their prey. It's not pleasant being a little kid who's just teased and mocked, so I can only imagine what that might extrapolate out to be a group of people who just want to be accepted and recognized as even human beings. The silent majority makes the difference. If enough voices who are unaffected in the struggle express the basics of human empathy to look at these small groups of assholes and call them out for what they are, the bigots are then silenced into obscurity and into the fringes. And that's what it's about. Not allowing the asshole to keep being the asshole. Holding them accountable. If you want to stay on the sidelines and silently cheer or even be something of a slacktivist, like changing your picture to the rainbow filter, I can't stop you or hold much against you without making an asshole of myself. But if you're preaching the subtle mantras that it's in your face and it's saturated and it's everywhere, then you are, at the end of the day, enabling and, in a small way, endorsing this small minority of douchebags and twat waffles who are just making life miserable for their prey. The silent acceptance makes it okay for a group of people, or makes it okay to tell a group of people that their right to equal rights isn't as important as just staying silent and subservient to the majority. Now, another point that drives me insane is this notion that there should be a straight pride parade, or a white heritage celebration, or men's rights activism. That last one actually sets the stage for another rant that that I've kind of started doing, so I'll wait until later to hop onto that soapbox. But you see, the problem lies with the assumption that somehow a group that, for some ideological reasons, believes a smaller group should be oppressed is being victimized for the gained rights of the group they're trying to keep suppressed. And it's in cases such as this where we see Christian leaders, politicians, and the like actively calling this America's new 9/11. I think it was Brian Fisher who actually had the nerve to say that fuckstick. And I find this to be an absolute utter crock of fucking self-indulgent bullshit. And that's all it is. Your rights aren't being suppressed. In fact, by being part of the majority, all you lose is that shroud of superiority over another outgroup. And you lose that perceived superiority over someone simply exposes you for the bigoted prick that you are, and you no longer can hide behind public opinion, then you are nothing more than a clown. This brings somebody's dignity closer to yours and grants them the same humanity that you have used and abused for far too fucking long. Many of these individuals have been divorced, it seems, and that the multiple divorces even seem to in no way affect the sanctity of promising your life and fidelity to someone for a lifetime. Yet a person who seeks the same rights you've demanded for yourself is somehow detrimental? Call that what you want, but here it is nothing more than transcendent douchebaggery, and you are a hypocrite of the highest order. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't see any shame in showing or any shame in a show of pride in being straight, white, or anyone. But it is insanely arrogant to sit there and think you can equate straight pride with gay pride when being straight has never been called a mental illness, it has never been a crime, and never has it ever had to be something that you've had to hide from everyone else without severe social consequences and the potential loss of right to make a living for yourself. That's right, losing a job because your boss finds out you're gay, and gays are icky. So unless you've had to fight for your right, not to party, but to express love with another consenting adult, maybe to party, without fear of social punishment or discrimination, you're never going to understand the significance of gay pride. And now, one last point that I'm going to address before I release you the bondage that I find my voice to be. It's an issue my family has always taken, and that's the sexual nature of the gay pride parade. Now, I've never been to one, and to my knowledge, neither has any member of my family in the history of ever. So I find it really difficult to speak as to exactly how lewd the sexual behavior is at the parade. I can say that I've seen photos of men walking around in assless chaps, or I guess chaps because they're all assless. But since I've never been, I can't say how much is actually happening. And I invite anybody who may have ever attended a gay pride parade to please write in. And oh, Jen's raising her hand over the camera, so I guess she's gonna add in a little bit at the end here to comment on this. But I will say that if there are problems of taste that do need to be addressed, then we can let the proper authorities deal with it. It's their job. They're there to uphold the law, and it should go without saying that if there's a problem, they'll solve it. Yeah, this is a Vanilla Ice reference I just dropped. If what they see going on is by their judgment and interpretation of the legal system inappropriate behavior in a public setting where children are present, then let the men in blue step in and do their job. Just because you aren't comfortable with men showing off that much skin doesn't mean you get to police how they celebrate or how they make the most of the law that protects and governs all of us. That's all I have to say about that.
Now's the time our sprockets when we dance. That's all the time we have. Until next time, auf Wiedersehen.
I've been to Pride.
And?
I have been to Pride. Yes, you have scantily clad men and scantily clad women, but like people, it's not like a cum gutter fest. You know what I mean? We don't, they don't fuck in the street and like cocks and balls and badges and shit flapping in the wind. No, it's just a good celebration of, how can I put it? Love, just love. And it's, people sit there and, oh, when do we get a white parade or a straight pride parade? And it's like, they're celebrating the fact that they can walk through the streets without being beaten and arrested.
Exactly.
Be happy that you don't need a parade.
And here's then that's another solid point too. But here's the fucking thing. Even if you're straight, they'll let you join the parade. They want to have a gay old time with everybody who wants to come out and party and have a good time and celebrate. That's it.
When I lived in New York, I went to Pride every year, and they loved me.
I think I'm actually going to go this year. A secular group that that's in Calgary is planning on either marching or a booth or something, and I'm going to try being a part of that if I possibly can.
Go, it's fantastic. Go, it's a fantastic time.
But it looks like Jen's yawning, and I think she's getting tired, so I think we should cut her off here.
Yeah, surprisingly, I'm actually getting tired. That's what you guys what's a rough week.
All right, Jen. Well, to Jen and to our audience listening, wherever you may be, stay frosty, bitches.
Night, night.
The Not Another Atheist podcast experience is run by Jen and Keith. If you wish to contact the show, you may email them at nehehp@gmail.com. Now, I may not have it... Fuck. Excuse me, I'm dying here. Fuck!
That's hilarious. The Bible is like Tinder for morality.
Kinky.